What's up, guys? Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. And this is long overdue. I will soon make a video detailing why my activity hasn't been that consistent over the last few weeks, but no worries, it will be very soon. So the video I uploaded before this one was what I ate on an arm day. So literally this very day that you're seeing this training, what I eat during the day when I'm training arms. You can check it out as the last video I just posted, or just the video before this one on this very YouTube channel. But anyway, we are doing an arm day, starting out with the triceps. Now, this rope pushdown, I'm not going to go to absolute failure here. This to me is simply a warm-up. So sometimes I like to go to failure with the rope pushdown, but this time I want to do a little bit more tricep work on other exercises, and I don't want to pre-exhaust the triceps too much using a rope pushdown, because a rope pushdown targets the short head of the tricep a bit more compared to the long head, and what I want to work is the long head of the triceps, because that targets the most amount of muscle and it makes the tricep looks the biggest. And of course, posing in between the sets is always the most anabolic thing to do, and at the same time you can see your progress as you would always want to look like when you got a pump, because if I do a side chest with a tricep pump, that's exactly the way I would love it to look like the whole time. I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. But this is the first movement that I'm doing that I talked about, working the long head, because this is an overhead tricep extension with a rope, but it's unilateral. With unilateral, I mean I begin with one arm and then do the same amount of reps with the other arm. When one of the arms is weaker than the other one, you start out with the weakest so you can actually, fix any imbalances in either size or strength. For me, the difference isn't really there as much. They're pretty even in strength and size, so I just start with the right side and then match the reps with the left side. Sometimes the left is stronger, sometimes it's a bit weaker. It really depends on the movement and what I did beforehand, but usually they are about the same strength. But more importantly, the form on this exercise. Now, watch what my upper arm is doing. Normally, if you're a beginner, you keep the upper arm very straight, very strict, full range of motion, not using any momentum. I'm not using momentum here, but I am extending the range of motion a little bit at the stretch part. So when you're hitting a full stretch, if you don't move the upper arm, you're not moving, stretching the long head of the triceps to the fullest. So you're not actually achieving a full range of motion to the max with that long head of the triceps. Why? Because the long head is attached to the shoulder joint. And because it is attached there, you need to actually move the shoulder joint to be able to stretch it out even further. So there's no real need to keep the upper arm super strict and super straight and locked into place. Be a little bit more free in the movement when you combine it with mind-muscle connection, because if you do move the upper arm a bit upwards in the stretched position, you will actually feel a greater stretch, which is where mind-muscle connection comes in, because if you don't feel that stretch, your form is simply not correct. Okay, so the next one is a multi-grip, closed grip bench press. Now, I'm simply doing this one because it's much easier on the wrists and I'm able to keep my elbows closer to my body, to my torso, compared to a regular closed grip bench press. Now, I'm aware that not every single gym has this equipment, has this barbell, so using a regular barbell is possible as well. But if you look at the width where my hands are grabbing this barbell, you should use the same width on a regular barbell as well. I see a lot lot of people using the close grip bench press with hands way too close to each other, and that will hurt the wrists, it'll hurt the joints, and it's simply not efficient to use in the long run, because you will get not only wrist problems but also possible elbow problems, because it's simply not according to your anatomy to be able to move like that. So move a little bit broader, wider, and that way you can still hit the triceps optimally without messing up your joints. So I'm here moving up in weight every single time, adding a plate of 10. This is the warm-up number 4, so every time that I do an exercise you can see me doing a few warm-ups and then doing 1 or 2 working sets. The warm-ups are never the failure, and maybe sometimes they seem a little heavy. That's because a warm-up isn't always strictly a warm-up as in just getting used to the movement, but also getting used to a heavier and heavier weight. So you might actually call them feeder sets or primer sets, whatever you want to call them. I like to call them warm-ups because I'm not only warming up getting blood into the muscle, but I'm also warming up my mental state into going to the heaviest weight of that exercise. So you're warming up in every sense of the way. Now I don't have a spotter here, so I found it risky to do another rep here. It seemed very easy and smooth, but I felt like if I make one little mistake I might lose my balance, because this barbell makes it a bit more difficult to balance everything out correctly, because one little slip and it might drop down on your torso, on your chest, and that's not what you want, because we have all seen those videos where the barbell drops and they even have a spotter. I don't have a spotter here, so I don't want to risk that. So instead of going even heavier, I went a little lighter and did working set number 2, using about 20% less weight, but then doing again as many reps as I can. And you saw that right there. The very last rep was the only complete rep I could still do. Alright, this one is the overhead dumbbell extension. I didn't do a lot of sets with this because I already have warmed up the triceps quite a lot, but this one is truly for the long head. If I normally do a front double bicep, you also look at my arm, which is doing the movement in the same way. If you look at the bottom of my arm where the tricep is, you can see that it has a rounding. It's rounding off. I want that sweep of the tricep to improve, to increase, so the arm looks more massive in a front double bicep, for example, looks more thick in some poses as well. So that's what I'm aiming to improve by using this exercise. And for me that's important because the biceps are a strong point. The triceps have improved a lot already, but not quite enough to my liking, because obviously as a bodybuilder we're never really done. But having big arms in classic physique to me is very important. It's to me what classic bodybuilding is partly about, not only having a proportionate physique but also a very good set of arms and other body parts like a chest to go along with it. So here I'm going to failure. What I'm doing here is I am aware I can do a couple more reps if I go very slow on the eccentric, so on the way down, and then go upwards explosively. So if I would be going up and down quickly, I would simply stop immediately when juice ran out. But if I go down slowly, I can still build up that explosive power to go upwards. And you should try it sometime. Going down slowly will actually damage the muscle more, and it'll prime you to go upwards easier. At least in my experience it feels that way for sure. Now I always love to do free weight movements. Now I'm sitting here against the lat pull down seat, so if you don't have a bench that is the exact height you need, you can always be a little creative like I am right here. Alright guys, it is time for the biceps. And again guys, if you have weak biceps but strong triceps, I would urge you to begin with the biceps instead. But I'm ending the workout with bicep movements because for me the biceps are a stronger asset to my arms. They have quite a good peak, quite good mass. Obviously, I would like to have them even bigger, but if I would chase bicep size, I would have to chase tricep size even more. And when you're doing professional classic physique competitions, they will simply mark me down if I'm not balanced enough. So I can really get biceps that are a lot bigger, but it would simply look weird and imbalanced on my physique, which is something you have to think about as well. It's not just in your head if you want bigger arms that you only have to work the biceps. If they don't look proportionate to the triceps, it simply won't look good. At least that's my opinion. Anyway, this movement is one of my all-time favorites for the biceps, guys. The preacher curl with an easy curl bar. What you do is you also grab the bar close grip. You put your elbows as close together as possible, because then when you go upwards you can really contract the biceps and work on that bicep peak. The closer the grip, so the closer your hands are together, the more the outside of the bicep is being worked. And if the outside of the outside bicep head is bigger and taller than the inside bicep head, you will get a bigger bicep peak. That's very simple to imagine. If you simply work the outside more than the inside, you will get a larger bicep peak, which simply improves the look of the bicep overall. Now, I'm not saying you can individually work each bicep head, because that is impossible. What you can do is put emphasis on a bicep head by changing the way you grab a barbell. As you will see after this movement, I will have a different width that I'm grabbing the barbell with, and I'm then working on different parts of the bicep again. But the first exercise should always have the priority, and for me the priority here is working on the bicep peaks. The bigger the peaks, the better it'll be. But here the full range of motion is visible, going all the way down and then going all the way up, making sure that I hit the bicep in every single way I possibly can, getting those fibers to die, only to get resurrected again the next workout stronger. Okay, so these are preacher curls with a straight bar. When you're working the biceps, they are not really a complicated muscle. It's simply curling up and down. That's what works the biceps. But bodybuilding is all about hitting the biceps or any muscle from as many angles as you can, as effectively as you can. So what I'm simply doing, I'm staying put at the same preacher bench, only changing out the barbells and changing the width that I'm grabbing the barbell with. So I'm holding it wider than shoulder width now, compared to the closer than shoulder width that I had before. Now I'm actually working the inside more, which actually makes this movement a lot more difficult to do. You should really try that out. If you look at pictures of Arnold doing any barbell curl, you can actually see him sometimes grabbing the barbell quite wide on a preacher curl, preacher bench, which, alluded to me I should try it out, and it feels quite incredible indeed. It gives a really nice stretch as well. Now, this exercise looks quite different from anything you may have done yourself. We all know the hammer curl, and most of us also know the rope hammer curl, where you simply attach the rope to the bottom of a cable stack and use both arms to do a hammer curl with the cable attachment, with this rope attachment. But now I'm doing a horizontal hammer cable curl, and this basically works the same way because the cables provide the tension you need. Just imagine doing it exactly like this with a dumbbell. That is not possible. However, if you have a cable, you can do a lot more variety in movements compared to a dumbbell. So sometimes switching out some free weight exercises for cable movements or machine movements is not a bad thing at all. So this will be the last bicep movement. Usually I like to do 4 triceps and 3 for the biceps, and always like to include a hammer movement like this. because the hammer movement works the brachialis muscle, which goes beneath the two bicep heads, and that will actually push the bicep outwards a little more. So if you want to work on the thickness of the bicep, when you're simply having your arms next to your body in the mirror, you want those thicker biceps, thicker arms to appear. Working on the brachialis using hammer curls is one way to work on that muscle and that thickness. Because arm days are quite short and simple, I like to add something that I don't really do normally in a separate day, and that is training the shoulders. And in this instance, it's only going to be the side delts. Whenever I train the back, I already train the rear delts using some face pulls or some rear delt flies, anything like that, to finish them off. Because my chest workouts have been getting more intense, I had to decide, do I want to keep the side lateral raises in with the chest workout or move them somewhere else? I decided to move them at the end of the arm day, because an arm day usually takes 45-50 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour. So at the end I can still put 10 to 15 minutes of side lateral raises to really finish off those side delts. A lot of people think I have to do a military press or an Arnold press or some heavy overhead press to work on the shoulders to make them buller shoulders, but that's not what you have to do. If you want to have those round 3D shoulders, you only really have to work mostly on the side delts and the rear delts, especially the side delts if you simply want to have broader shoulders. The front delts don't really contribute as much to the roundness of the shoulders compared to the side and the rear. So what you want to do is simply, if you have a separate shoulder day, do the side and the rear first and end with the front, because you already work the front with every single chest day you do, and you don't want to overtrain that. Now the volume I like to do with side lateral raises is simply doing 25 to 20 reps on the lighter sets, and here simply go to failure, which is around 12 to 15 reps, and then doing some extra reps beyond failure by doing alternating side lateral raises, allowing one arm to rest before doing the rep with the other. Thank you very much for watching the video. I have a lot of videos coming still. I actually have them right on my computer. A lot of footage still being there to be edited into a video. Now I'm doing all the editing myself, and sometimes you see a video by Dutch Fit Media, someone who's helping me put the videos online, but we don't really get in touch that often, so most of the stuff you see is edited by me. But I've been quite busy the last couple of weeks, and that has to do with a couple of things. Me finishing finally off my education, my school, and on top of that we are getting a baby, and the due date is actually already in 3 days officially, maybe a bit later, and obviously I'll let you know right away on my social media, most likely Instagram, so @Wesley_Vissers if you want to follow me. And on top of that, we're also getting a new house, so a lot of things are, being worked at the same time and happening at the same time. So it's been quite busy. So whenever I'm this busy, I focus more on the emails, on my coaching clients, on the workouts and nutrition plans, because people actually pay for those at vintagegenetics.com. So that's my priority. And sometimes there's simply not enough time in the day to actually edit all those videos, because it does take quite a while, but it's my passion. I want to show you guys a lot more. So I promise you, most likely within 1 or 2 weeks, I'll have a lot more free time, because then things are being finished, crossed off, never to be done again. So I'll obviously let you know when that is and how everything is going then. But I'm really looking forward to that time, and I still want to thank you a whole lot for the incredible support you've been showing me, and very excited, guys. The Olympia is coming up, I believe. Let me check how many days I'm out. I'm 119 days out, which is, if I calculate that, 17 weeks exactly. So 17 weeks out, guys, from the Olympia. Some people say, well, it's going to be impossible to travel to the USA for Dutch people, but I won't give up hope. There's a lot of time left before that is concluded, so we will see. Anyway, guys, thank you a lot for watching. More videos coming very soon, and don't forget to stay golden.